No matter what's going on in the world, sometimes you just need to light a candle and talk about it. So welcome to the Candle and Country Podcast. Oh, look what I found.
Oh, baby's pen.
Baby's pen. We found a laser for Serena's. Serena loves this because it turns into a little butterfly. But we haven't seen this. Oh, it's dead. Oh, that's interesting. So it needs charging, but yeah.
Oh, you tempted her.
It's actually rechargeable. I'm sorry. We're going to have to charge this before we work in for you, but we'll do that. Anyway, hello, my darling.
Hello, my darling.
How are we?
Yeah, we're pretty good.
This is good. It's a Friday. Who can't complain about that, right?
I thought that was still the laser pen. I was like, how did that happen?
You're like, wait, it's got a light at the end of it as well? Swell.
It's like, you can't be chasing our cat with a lighter.
It is thoroughly warm at the moment. Wow, no one told me my hair was like this. You didn't tell me my hair was like this, man.
Your hair and makeup properly.
You're so funny. Right, so, to start with, hello everyone. Our candle of the week is back to garden party because it's warm. We like elderflower and lily, and I won't lie, this has been a very rushed week because we've had a lot going on. So this is the candle we still have sitting here.
You might notice
he's coming back out.
We sort of missed our Friday slots.
A little bit, yeah.
We're filming on Friday nights, so
yeah, with a really fast turnaround, hopefully, on editing this.
We'll see.
Because we had a wedding yesterday. It was a very lovely time.
It was beautiful.
I actually usually struggle at weddings just because, like, I have a lot less of a social battery than Zoe, and like, you know, basically one of the things I always find is that when you go to weddings, a lot of people don't know how to say, like, by the way, we actually don't know anyone else here and we don't know how to connect. And so you end up with this like weird in between where you're stuck being like, I know 5 people and I don't know how to make conversation. But because we were having a conversation about not knowing how to connect with other people around us heard that and were like, oh, we're the same.
We also don't know anyone else
here. And that was really helpful because it kind of like, it actually opened it up, and like for the rest of the day we then got to meet like 3-4 different couples that we would have never connected with without those kind of conversations. So yeah, it was a really lovely time. It was very chilled, beautiful day.
It was really nice.
But anyway, that's not what we're talking about because that was pretty sane. What we're talking about today is quite the opposite and probably talking about what seems quite insane in the world. But that's not where I want to start with this. No,
that's a weird way to start.
Exactly, but it's fun. You've got to stick around to find out what we're talking about. Anyway, where I wanted to start with...
Hopefully.
You know where we're going, it's fine. Okay, so where I wanted to start with this is I saw a reel. And I think like it was a really illuminating reel for me because it was from I watch a lot of golf reels, and this guy has just won a championship. I couldn't tell you which one, so like I can show you the video. Like I can probably even link to it, possibly, so you can have a watch and kind of get the reference material. But this guy has just won, and he is doing his like post-win interview, and he's now like, you know, he's spent the last 10-12 years of his life like committing everything he has, working for this goal, and he was like, in you know, winning this, it was the most euphoric feeling I've ever had, but it lasted for about 5 minutes, and after that, he suddenly realized that, like, you know, it almost has like a crisis of faith where he's like, what is this for everything I've been working up for? Like at the end of the day, you go back home to your wife, you go back home to your kids, you go back home to regular scenarios, and like, you know, yes, it was nice to sit in the moment, but also there's so much just been put into just that he's like, I've now reached the goal, what's left? And like, you know, it made him realize that like actually his wife and his kids are really what he cares about. That's what his life has been built on. It has not been built on just his job and his success and everything in that. And it made me think, I was like, is this potentially the start of, you know, almost ego death? I think is what it's been coined as, but like just this sense that people are starting to realize that like there's a lot of things that are really just material and that isn't actually the goal of things. But I think it's a very slow trajectory towards it. Like, you know, when you start to realize that maybe this is the way that people are starting to head, but we've still got a fair few years left in this game. Like, before I carry on, have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's sort of it's one of those things that's probably been spoken about for a long time, hasn't it? About how what really matters to people is sort of. So I think your average person who works sort of 9 to 5 job,
Sure.
you don't actively think my life is my job. That's the thing that defines me. But I think when you introduce yourself in conversations and stuff, you often talk about what you do for work, and it's so true. It becomes the thing that you discuss. And
we were saying this at the wedding, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were there, like, every conversation you have with people, you're there, like, what do you do? And like, it was really fascinating because it just felt like we really got to adult point where people were like, I'm a sustainability officer. And
people
I'm
have
a business analyst.
Almost
and I'm like, damn,
made up job titles. You're like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I was like, what? You're gonna have to explain to me what you do, and then you can't because it's very complicated.
Yeah, but I guess it's like, like most of us don't actually think that we're defined by our work, but then actually we almost act like we are all the time. And I suppose people like athletes, they have a slightly different relationship with their work because obviously it's their dream.
Yeah.
But then they have this knowledge that's more impending than ours that it's going to come to an end quite soon. Like I was listening to an interview with Gwen Crabb, who she's on the Welsh rugby team.
Yes.
Very cool woman, and
I didn't know you watched rugby stuff, but that's kind of cool.
It was on a podcast I was listening to.
Got you. Yep.
But she was saying about how she's having to really think about the next step in her career because she's 25, she's ancient. So she's going to have to retire quite soon. Her knees are going to give out. She's not going to be able to play top of her, her game. And obviously, because it's women's rugby, she's only recently been getting paid. Really, like there's some people on her team, which is the national team, who have other jobs.
Wow, really? Wait, so wow, that's quite a balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
you've got to find the time to train to an
full-time firefighter and also on the rugby team.
That's really cool, but also wild.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a bit like the football leagues in America are quite like that. Like a lot of the time, they're like the caretaker is like the football goalie because they just don't have enough money in it as a league that is regular people who do regular
Serena
jobs.
Face over here.
Hi, Serena.
Oh, she's great.
Look down the camera. Look at my phone.
You're funny, girl.
Everybody likes you.
No, she's leaving.
Hello, gorgeous.
She's got
she got stage fright.
Stage fright. She didn't realise she was being perceived.
She was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that everyone can just see me?
But I guess, so she's had this whole thing of going, right, well, first of all, I've not made multi-millions because I'm playing rugby and I'm a woman. Secondly, I have to retire quite soon. So what am I going to do next? Is it still going to be in the world of rugby? Possibly. Can I do coaching? Can I become a PE teacher? You know what I mean?
Sure, like, the world isn't your oyster, but the world hasn't been your oyster because you've been focused on one thing.
But I think most of us are in the same sort of boat, really. It's just on a much longer term thing. It's actually, who are we when you take away your job and stuff? And I think that's an important thing. Like, obviously, I'm not the first to say this by any means, but when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to go, oh, I wish I spent more hours in the office. I wish I got that clean put in a bit sooner. I wish I, did that deal. Wish I, managed to make that sale to that one guy and impress my boss a bit more. Like, you don't care about those things. You're going to be like, I wish I saw more of my kids or my wife or my cats.
So interestingly, maybe it's just because it's on my mind because of, I've been helping people at work through some really hard things, and it made me think, like, even in the sense of, so like the person I was helping really wanted to kind of prove themselves, really go the extra mile for everyone around them, and but you wouldn't on your deathbed sit there and go, I really wish I had tried harder to make that person like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're just gonna accept that the people that loved you, the people that didn't. And like I almost wish that it didn't take life altering or near life altering events for people to kind of get it into gear and realize that not that they don't have all the time in the world, but actually to reevaluate what matters. Like, for me and my family, my parents are going to listen to this, but like we were basically at war a lot of the time. Me and my mother, we didn't get along. I think we loved each other like deep down, but like if we're honest, that love, the way it came out, is really not love. It was just something else twisted and really not healthy. And there was a day in which we found out that she had got cancer, and I think my dad called me, or they came over to tell me, and like it took that conversation for everyone to really buck themselves together and just go, right, enough of this family feuding, at the end of the day, we love each other. We're here for each other, and we're going to have to point that out. But then I've also had the other side of it of seeing how fearful my mum has become since. So she's now in remission. She's good. But she has become more fearful as a person of doing certain things. Like she has a weak back. You know, it's actually really complicated. She has a weak back, but also she does a lot of things that really push her body to the limit. And then for her, it's like a trophy sign if she's in pain, because she's like, see, look how much I did. And I'm there like, how about we like do strength training to improve your back? And she's like, oh no, but I could hurt myself. And I'm there like, you know, it's possible to like increase in growth whilst also being careful. Like no one's saying you have to go lift 100 kg squat rack immediately, are you? Like no one jumps to that. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. But I suppose what you're saying is about sort of priorities and what really matters most in life, right?
That was where I was going. I guess I was actually thinking about the fear that comes with these, you know, reassessing of priorities.
Okay.
Because in going back to where I started with, I wonder if the fear is a bigger driver in the world than most people want to admit it is. So, you know, the other story I was going to link to, it made me think of Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom.
Okay.
They are currently going through probably a divorce. They've split, but they haven't yet divorced. But apparently, one of the key reasons why this has been happening is because they both feel like they've fallen out of the light and have been doing things to try and get back into it that have not been entirely tasteful in terms of like not customer, but like audience perspective.
That sort of is almost the opposite thing of, isn't it? Sort of they haven't been prioritizing. It hasn't been the case where Katy Perry's gone, right, I've reached the pinnacle of my career. I have been as famous and successful as possible to be.
Sure.
Let me now enjoy my marriage and my child and my big mansion.
Live happily ever after with all the money I have.
But I guess my question there is not that we can imagine it, but is it wrong to still want more? Or like, is it a bad thing to go, okay, well, look, I love my husband and my life, but also I want to do more with myself. I want to be more, become more. Like, I think this is...
this is fun.
But it's sort of like, I think you see the royal family do this a lot, don't you? Sometimes.
Okay, how are you thinking?
So because I guess if you're born into the royal family, you kind of a ready-made celebrity in a way. And you're probably not going to struggle for money. Like, you're not going to be homeless, are you?
Yeah.
You're not going to have to pay rent and get, struggle for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you don't have to have a job, but you don't want to just be a useless... Yeah, and it's like, I think it's something like, I don't really know, it's something like the sort of 4 or the 6 main members of the family.
Right.
Have like duties in terms of, right, you're going to go and open things.
Sure.
You're going to have a calendar of events to go to.
Yeah.
And the other ones don't so much. But there's obviously there's a point where you're like, okay, I'm in the family, but I'm not like...
I'm not one of the big ones.
So there's a point where like you're working anyway. Like you're probably still an aristocrat, but you're probably I guess Harry is the example, right? Yeah, but the thing is, there are lots of people who are not working royals, but they're also, I guess, rich enough that they don't need to do anything. But then you want to do something with your life, and you're in the public eye, and you've got a platform, so you want to use it for something. But it's like, well, what do I use it for?
I think it's a battle of finding purpose, right? Because what was I going to say? The thing with Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, you're right, it's complete opposite. What they're doing is almost feeding off nostalgia, because they've had this point where they had a peak in their lives and they're trying to reclaim the same thing. And like, I've never spoken about this yet, but for me, nostalgia is like the death of society, because and it sounds so serious when you say it, but I genuinely think that when people start going, oh, let's get back to the good old days, no matter what it is. Just like you can imagine your ex is like actually the better person for you, I think with things that you've gone through in life, you can have rose-tinted glasses over them. And it's really easy to just imagine that what you went through before was the best it's ever been. Completely forgetting all the struggles you had, the way you felt about it, the times that you cried about it. Like, I've seen people be like, oh, remember when, actually, most people don't do this about school, but sometimes people are like, oh, when school or university was like the best time ever. And I'm like, you mean you had no responsibilities? You were crying half the time because you were in a new city with no one that you knew, with your family far away and having to build entirely new connections. This was not an entirely... Or drama between friends, yeah.
You can look back at the past and you can be like, okay, well, all my current problems weren't there.
That's true.
I think that's one of the things is, if I look back at being a child, a small child, there were lots of things I loved about being a small child. Like, I got to go play in the sunshine with my friends. I got to go to the park. I got to run around and swim about and
go to a sweet shop with like £1 and try and get as many Freddos as you could.
Oh, I used to get Rolos.
Did you? Nice. Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
But it's like, that was fun.
Yeah.
But also, I wasn't allowed to go to bed when I wanted to, or to stay up and watch my shows, or to eat what I wanted to eat, or you know what I mean? Like, if somebody today was like, congratulations, you can now live the life of a 4-year-old, I'd be like, well, this unfortunate. Like, yes, I'm not paying the mortgage, but also, I have to be minded constantly, and I don't get to make my own choices. And like, being like 13, that was fun sometimes.
Sometimes
I got to hang out with my friends, and I got to listen to the music I wanted to listen to on my phone. And
it's also one hell of an emo time. Like, you go through a lot of heartbreak. You're trying to understand social situations. Is a mess.
I mean, all my current issues probably didn't exist. Like, I didn't have to worry about money. I didn't have to worry about work. I didn't have to worry about when my cats got fleas. I didn't have to think about home renovations. But also, I had
those are a privilege in themselves, right? Like, it's really easy to forget that, like, actually, the life you're living now is the life that at some point you wanted to live.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you get caught up in the stuff that you're feeling at the moment that it's very easy to just go, I want to go back. I just want a time of freedom. I just want a time where, like, it probably is just a sense of freedom.
Maybe it's that. I mean, it's also, like, I think, things back then, you can look back at it now and you can go, you had no issues, there were no problems. But back then, the things that were a problem felt huge. Any sort of silly friendship spat in my group that wasn't even involving me, that would ruin my week.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
that'd be all you could think about.
Drama,
right?
Like, if I was going to explain it to you now, if I could remember it, we'd both be sat here like, what was this even a story? Like, this isn't even worth saying.
But you forget being a teenager and like the fact that your emotions are so much heightened.
It's all consuming.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it makes me think, like, we live in Norwich. Well, we live in Yarmouth, which is near Norwich. Norwich is one of those areas that at the moment is really having a protest rising over hotels, and obviously there's a lot of people, and like, if any of you are watching this who are the type to go to hotels, I apologize for any.
You need to explain what you mean by this protest.
Okay, so there are protests over migrants being held in the hotels, and I understand people's frustration, but I think there is a lot of there's a lot of people who would slap this flag down and go, we as British people...
I found a flea.
Oh! Well, that's lovely, isn't it? Dearie me.
He's still alive!
Well, oh no.
Should we put a candle on him?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Slow burn.
I'm going to have to... No. That's a lovely thought, isn't it?
Oh. Sorry about that, everyone.
The fun things to deal with. Anyway... it still stands that a lot of people slap this flag down and go, based on British values, we're going to run these people out of town, and we're going to peaceful protest outside this hotel every day until something's made a difference. Like, even I saw people being like, we're going to go to the courts and defend this journalist who has spoken out against policy. And I'm now like, first of all, you standing outside the court doesn't change the judge's mind. That's not how the way the world works. So there's already a lack of education kind of going on in those areas of like how we actually make an impact on real things. Because if we're honest, like, it's easier to be a conspiracy theorist over things going on in our country rather than it is to take personal responsibility over where you're stuck in your own life. And I think, honestly, a lot of this blaming of migrants is a lot of people really struggling to accept the fact that the world is not designed for them to thrive. Like, if you think about it, we all have to make really heavy decisions about where our lives are going to take us from a very young age. And there are some people who are lucky enough to have a guiding voice to help them make the right calls. But if you do not have those people in your life, you're going to make the calls based on the information you have at the time. And there is no way for you to easily get back into re-education. There's no easy way to upskill yourself. There's no easy way to gain the qualifications you need in order to be able to have a better life. Meanwhile, you feel like everything around you is squeezing the life out of you, like prices are raising across the roof, rent's going through the roof, and it just feels like something's got to be the fault. And unfortunately, it's the same MPs that will screw you that are also going to sit there and say, well, it's the migrants that are the problem, because of course they don't want you to actually deal with them.
It's nice
and
to
like
pass the blame somewhere.
It is easy to pass the buck, and I genuinely think there needs to be more of a conversation about going, like, you're whoever it is, you're not stupid people. I don't think we've ever imagined that you're stupid people, but I understand that you're scared about what you're going through. I understand that you wish that the world would change, and I understand that you're looking for somewhere to feel like you can push your energy into. And I would rather that people spent the time researching like what actually has caused us to get here, listening to credible sources, not the same people like Nigel Farage who have screwed us in Brexit and is now trying to look to do it again, because he knows the same people aren't going to spend the time reading the books that he hasn't read. He just claims whatever he fancies. Regardless of how you choose to see this, our local MP thought that refugees were coming, well, not even refugees, he wouldn't call them that, he would just call them illegals.
Some illegal immigrants
were coming into Yarmouth on dinghies, and at the end of the day, it was actually a charity race. And obviously, he makes his apologies afterwards. And I'm there like, but we can't be fear-mongering like this to imagine every scenario in which you see must be the migrants. Ironically, I saw someone like laugh about it on Twitter, and they were like, you realise how far you're going to get from France to Yarmouth? If you made that journey, welcome to the UK. You damn well earned it. Well, and honestly, I thought that was hilarious.
Some Dutch immigrants, you never know.
Possibly.
They really want to escape the Netherlands.
Maybe so, but like even like I actually saw someone talking about the fact that the reason that so many people go from France to the UK is because we left Brexit, and so we lost all the agreements that agreed that whichever safe country you get to, you stay there. Instead, you can now just continue through to us, and we don't have any agreements with them to send them back. And yet, Nigel Farage is the same person who's, stood on a red bus and told us that all these things were going to change. And that I actually remember the day after Brexit happened, and he was on news, and he just went, "Oh no, it was all a lie."
It was about the 3 million CNH or something?
And he was just like, "Oh no, we just made it up." And I was like, you just had that like the barefaced lie.
I think, what did he say? He said, "Oh well, we haven't guaranteed it's going to the NHS." It's like that was on your bus, like that's on the bus behind you. It says 300 million going to the NHS, and he's like, "Oh well, we can't confirm that." It's like,
but I don't understand how like marketing on TV, like you can run an ad on TV, and if it's any way, shape, or form false, you can take that business to court over the fact that they have falsely deceived people into trying to buy a product. And yet a political party cannot be charged, dealt with, or isn't being charged or dealt with for having run the same level of propaganda and completely not following through on it. Like, surely there needs to be far more, not punishments, but like, what's the word? Like guidelines in place to ensure that whatever you promise that you're going to do as a party, you have to fulfill. To at least like 50, 60, 70, whatever % of your promises. You cannot just like be like, actually, we changed our mind now. Mm-hmm. Because people voted you in based on the things that you said you were going to do. And honestly, I actually feel sorry for a lot of people, because I think people just feel powerless at the moment. And they're trying to find a way to reconcile the fact that this world seems to have no way to shift other than the direction it's going, because everyone tells you like, well, this is the way that things have to be. It has to be this capitalist. It has to be like this level, this form of democracy, as if there is actually any power in this place. Like, how many people have signed petitions to go into Parliament, and Parliament look at it and go, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, yes, they talk about it, but they don't have to do anything about it.
It was really interesting, isn't it? Sort of how all the petitions get made.
Yeah.
It's like, how often has one of them actually made a difference?
Gone through and been like, actually, we'll bring this up as a real talking point.
Because I think like they have to discuss it at a certain point, but then it's like
you see like the amount of MPs that turn up in the House of Commons. They're like 5 of them, and one of them's asleep in the back. Yeah. Meanwhile, one of them's like, right, we've been asked to talk about this, and you're there like, no, I want you to talk about it when everyone's decided to show up.
Actually discuss this.
Yeah. Rather than just being like, I show up to the sessions I fancy.
Well, it's difficult because I think actually the thing is you need to have somebody in there who really supports the cause.
Sure.
So it's like, I think if it's almost like, have you ever had to do one of those debates at school where you're told you're arguing that school uniforms are great, and Dave's arguing that school uniforms are terrible.
Yeah.
Go make your point. It's almost, it has to be a bit like that, because it's sort of, if, like, I mean, I signed one that's about the sort of sizes of enclosures that you can keep small animals in, because a lot of the ones that are sold really aren't actually. Everyone who knows about these small animals is like, this is too small. It's not fair. They need a larger cage. It should be more of this enclosure that's enriching. Yeah. These ones are dangerous. But it's like, if there's nobody in Parliament who actually knows or cares about this, then, it's like, okay, cool. So we've got one about enclosures for hamsters and stuff. Right. This is what it's about. This is
apparently what people have said.
Does anyone care about that? No. Right, okay, yeah. Should we pass a motion? No,
you don't.
And it's
care,
you actually need to properly give people a voice.
I think it actually points out that, I think the system needs to work without the MPs, because I think that should be a proposal, a consultation that goes through multiple stages, and it's not put forward by an MP who happens to care about the issue.
Yeah.
Because surely an MP-based system where the MP has to care is then deciding on what the MP feels like is going to benefit themselves.
Well, I suppose the thing is, it's like people care about their constituents sometimes, don't they? Or they're meant to. So
sure.
If somebody says, this is an issue in our constituency, then the MP is meant to go, right, let me look into that and see what we can do.
Right. But Yarmouth isn't having a problem with migrants. Beaufort is. And yet everyone's doing is getting riled up over this, rather than going, actually, our schools need to be better, and actually we need more investment in our hospitals, and actually, you know what, it'd be nice if we had more jobs around here that were of greater options and greater value to people.
Is it because we're all more connected now, we're all more online, so these talking points about the migrants, I think it used to be a bit more isolated, right, as different communities would have their own particular views on this or whatever, because
so you think we're almost seeing too much, you're thinking?
Well, this is the thing. I don't think there's many people in Yarmouth who have personally got lots of experience of loads of illegal immigrants coming in and taking everyone's jobs, right? I don't think that's really happening. But I do, especially because how are they going to have jobs anyway if they're they're not allowed to.
Thing in itself, yeah.
But anyway, but yes, there are some concerns. I've seen some concerns about people hiring out their national insurance numbers to illegal immigrants. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so that they can work, or I saw there was somebody I saw online who said that.
Wait a minute. If you're hiring out your national insurance number, that means you're not working.
No. It means you are working, but you're getting taxed stupidly and you're committing fraud. So it seems like a bad idea.
That's a system as well.
I've seen somebody online said that they got taxed a ridiculous amount compared to what they thought they were doing.
Sure.
So they contacted HMRC and they went, oh yeah, it's because of all this extra, Uber Eats driving you've been doing.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't do any Uber Eats driving. And they're like, well, you do. And then they had all this evidence. And they're like, that isn't me. And it turned out somebody had just given Uber Eats that national insurance number and gone, that's me. And they just gone, oh, yeah, cool, click it through.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand a concern about that system. I don't think we can blame the immigrants as a whole for that. Because honestly, if you move, I don't know. I mean, I'd struggle to survive properly without being able to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you've moved somewhere and you haven't got very much, of course you want to work. And of course, you want to do some sort of thing to sustain you and your family. And
but then the arguments that people get to, where the people they're taking our jobs, and I'm like, you realise, just checking, do you want to do Uber Eats?
Yeah, it's the thing, isn't it? It's like a lot of the jobs that migrants typically do is jobs where we're very understaffed with native UK, employees. And it's, I don't think it's such a great deal as people are making out to be immigrants.
So I
don't think it's a lot of fun for them. I think we should be doing as much as we can to support them and actually
I agree.
Changing the system so that it's fair. And I understand people are worried about overpopulation and overcrowding, but
most of the people in Yarmouth are not worried about overpopulation.
No,
we're dealing with other problems.
I think that's the issue, is we have become, because as a society, we're so inundated with information and talking points.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's too
much to take in, and everyone's very concerned and overreacting and haven't really got a good sense of the scope of an issue because we're just all responding to what we've seen online. None of us really know what's actually happening and what the stats look like, because unless you're working in the field,
you don't have the time to be sitting there researching everything. It actually makes me think. So I wanted to talk about, because obviously I started this being like, let's talk about the insane, and just to clarify, we are considerably more liberal than conservative.
Are we?
Oh, so
crazy.
For us, it seems insane to want to violate human rights in such a way.
That's such a hot take, Dan.
I know,
that should be crazy. I think that's a really good soundbite. Daniel Shakes. It seems insane to us to violate human rights. Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful. It should go with a badge.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, ironically, I don't think they see it that way.
Hot take.
Side. Yeah, hot take that really isn't that hot. It's lukewarm, if anything.
Cold take. Don't violate human rights.
Yeah, don't hate on other humans. But what was I going with?
Where were you going? You said, to us it seems insane to want to violate human rights.
I was going to, but at the same time, we're also dealing with a world where Karens have been on the rise for a number of years.
Do they want to violate human rights?
That's a good question. I don't think it's the same thing, but I think it's the same level of insane that it comes across.
You're going to have to explain what you mean by Karens.
When we're talking about insane, I think it's very easy to look at things, because I felt for a long time I was looking at all of this political sphere from the other side, from afar, and just going, this seems clinically insane to view people in this manner, to do these things to other people, to just hate on people in this way. And everybody can use the big words like racism, xenophobia, all the terms come out, and I understand why they do, because it's very easy to just go, right, well, it's racist, rather than to explain in human language what that actually is. And honestly, I think there's a lot of people who really just need to brought down to human language rather than just going, well, you're a racist. Because I think you go, you're racist, and they just go, that actually doesn't compute in my head as to a feeling or an emotion. It's not a thing. It's just a word that I've heard a lot, like woke. Right, that's a word just kind of taken off, and now everyone knows it to be basically a slur.
Yeah.
In some.
Well, no, I think it is. It's I saw a guy this morning. I saw a tweet, and somebody was talking about, everyone these days is saying that I'm a racist for my views, and then somebody replied going, these days I'm proud to be called a racist, right? And I was like, that's a shocking thing to say. That's because most people would never say that. Most people who we would generally deem racist would never label themselves that way, because they wouldn't see that as being what they are.
Well, yeah, most people don't think that that's who they are. So I think it's interesting if you got to the point where you're like, I believe that I am superior to other beings just because of their race, and I feel like I should get better off.
Yeah, and I'm people don't usually say that out loud.
No, which I think is actually a big change. I think the quiet part is more becoming out loud. And there are two sides of that, because there are a lot of things that do need to come out into the open, and there's a lot of things that, boy, we wish stayed well away. And you have to deal with both sides if we want the quiet part to come out loud. And we're going to have to deal with the fact that there are a lot of people who are just going to go, yeah, I'm racist. And the question now needs to be, why do you need to be superior in order to have a good life? Why can you not just, why can you not be equal to the other person next to you? If you both had the same job and you're both earning the same money, could you not coexist happily together, side by side in the street? And for some people, probably the answer is no. And I think people
would say yes.
Yes, but then we're not dealing with the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with people going back to these are the things you say in order to fit into a society, and that's half of the problem. I think it's that this shouldn't be an appearance thing, but really where I was going is the fact that it seems like Karens are just reacting wildly, and I actually think, and maybe this is going based off I watched a lot of Trevor Noah podcasts, as you know, but no, everyone else knows, and he was talking about the way that Trump has engaged MAGA as a community, because there is a bit of a community, but they've had people who have gone to the rallies outside and talked to people, and they were like, generally the thing we get is that people are here for the vibe. It's actually a community because of how it feels and that they get to be with other people who are a little bit like them and feel like they're connected to other people. And like he was like, Trump's kind of nailed this. There was one where he didn't actually talk on any policies or anything. He just went put on their music.
So it's
and they just put on music and he danced on stage and everybody had a great time.
It's like Pride for Conservatives.
Basically, yeah, it wasn't even a gig really. Yeah, it probably was just Pride, effectively. That's their version.
Yeah,
but
big festival.
How many people are there because they care about policy, and how many people are there because they want to be part of something? And the other part he also said is that a lot of people there, he's basically engaged those who feel like they've been forgotten in some way.
Right.
So a lot of people will have lost some part of their community or culture at home, and they felt forgotten. And for a long time, they stayed forgotten until he somehow managed to connect them. So, like, someone worked at the local plant down the road. The plant's closed because of multiple things. He's lost a part of his community. He's went somewhere forgotten. Or someone's school suddenly closed down. Or like their kids' school closed down. Or like, even if you think about it, we went through COVID and how many people lost family members, connections with other people. Maybe things in their personal lives became exposed because suddenly they were with them all the time.
Well, I think when you want change because something in your life is bad, like our school's not being funded enough, the healthcare system's not being funded enough, something like that, then it's very easy to just blame the current government and go, we want a new government. And I guess Trump was going to be the new government.
Exactly.
And now he is.
And now a lot of people have realised that like actually he did not care about them at all. And you're like, but unfortunately that's too late. And what we're trying to do is kind of point out these things because we're like, well, the UK could head there. And it will be that in 4 years' time, we'll all be sitting here being like, woohoo, reform we're in. Or at least some people will be going, we won. Which also, why is it politics isn't a game to win? Like, politics is supposed to be about influencing the culture to advocate for people who are not being advocated for. That's the whole reason why everyone's fighting in whichever direction they're going. And some people are just viewing this like a game to win, where they're like, look, see, we're winning, we're going to take this. And you're like, fantastic, you win at the end of the day. Meanwhile, more people get screwed over, including yourselves. Who really won? No one won. It's not supposed to be viewed that way. It's supposed to go, how we as a collective make lives better for working class people, and not the working class people who have actually done really, really well, are in 4 and 5 houses now, and sit there and go, well, I was working class and my dad was working class, but aren't working class anymore because in order to get to where they have, they've actually had to scam and grift a lot of people in order to do so. But the difference is they feel like they're working class. That's not working class. I mean, people who genuinely do a 9 to 5, who are just trying to make a decent life for themselves.
Probably more than 9 to 5 if you're working class.
Probably, to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of people that have 2 or 3 jobs, and I genuinely don't know how anyone does that. Like, imagine doing our job and then having to go to another one, or even another one after that. Mind blowing.
I mean, we have all our strings to our bow.
Yeah, I guess true. Yeah, we do side businesses, but it's not quite so go to a location.
It's a bit of a nicer experience. Exactly. There's a thread you kept dropping here about you keep talking about Karens going crazy.
Sorry, yes. So I think,
who are these Karens?
No, I don't know any Karens.
No, but I'm saying, can you explain what you mean by this statement? I've not seen any Karens going crazy.
So there tends to be a lot of videos of like it'll be a Karen who wants to save a parking spot. And has run out in the road into the parking spot and is like, I'm going to stand there until my husband gets here. Where is he? He's 10 minutes away.
So we mean a sort of entitled person. Is that what we're saying?
I think it feels... So, yes. Okay. Let's go with that.
What is a Karen?
No. I think a Karen would probably be as someone who seems to have a sense of entitlement for things that they do not justly have an entitlement over. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's where they are. I don't think they actually are entitled. I think that they're coming from a place of feeling lost and feeling overlooked. Lost. So yes, I think they are coming in as part of the forgotten. And honestly, I think anyone who's like, it's really important to remember that if you have experienced some loss in your life, you need to deal with those emotions, because emotions have a real capacity to twist and distort if not dealt with correctly. I think across all spectrum of emotion, like whether it's love, whether it's anger, whether it's hate. Like at the end of the day, actually, I would say hate is because of other emotions that have distorted. And I think loss and grief are one of the biggest emotions that I think have not handled correctly, can easily twist or distort into what eventually seems like hate, what eventually seems like entitlement, what eventually seems like arrogance. And actually it's a great sense of insecurity in their world, a great sense of brokenness, and maybe a huge feeling that they are not seen or looked like heard.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, a lot of middle-aged women have said to me, you know, for better or worse, that when you get to that age, people stop seeing you.
Really? That's so
sad. It's like there's a benefit to it, which is you stop getting the cat calls and the men being weird on the street. So it's sometimes this phrase is, look, don't worry.
Sure.
At some point it stops.
Yeah.
But also there's a sort of sadness of going, once you stop being perceived by the world as a young, attractive woman,
then they just
suddenly you're almost invisible. Yeah. And I think sometimes that can be something that's difficult. And I guess, so, I mean, I'm not trying to refute what you're saying at all. No. I agree with you. It probably is a thing about being overlooked. Sure. And I think we just need to be really careful around, I'm not saying like, oh, Karen's a slur. You can't say that.
No. But, so, yeah.
But I guess what I am saying is more about, because these people are often people who are overlooked. And actually, I think we need to be really careful that sometimes we don't equate women who've learned how to have a backbone and to stand up for themselves and stop people pleasing with being entitled Karen people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the time I see these videos about Karens. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, she's just kind of stood up for herself. Like, she's not being nice. You know, she's learned she doesn't need to be nice to everyone. You know, she's allowed to actually sometimes be a little bit rude when she needs to be in order to stand up for herself.
I agree.
And it's like, that's a really difficult thing to learn as a woman. It's really hard not to. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you see the ones where it's like somebody screaming to waiters and stuff and being horrible to service staff, and
which I think in those scenarios,
don't do that.
Like, no matter how much overlooked you feel in life, there's no justification for treating other people that way. But you make a fair point. I actually, it's a hot take, but I think Karen is quite like the word racist. In a sense, I think it's a label that's very easy to feel like you're just, you know, we understand the type of people we're talking about. Meanwhile, the people over there who are being called it don't really understand how they've earned this title.
Yeah.
And they're just there being like, excuse me, I don't want to be called a Karen.
Broadly offended.
Yeah. And they're just like, I'm her. Why are you calling me a Karen? And everyone's there like, see, that's such a Karen move. And you're like, but they're like, but I don't want to be a Karen.
Well, am I? Yeah. Like,
call me by my name, see me as a person. Like, why are you just marking me off?
Exactly. I mean, it's like we do this a lot, though, don't we?
We do across the board.
I mean, I'm not saying like I'm always, you know, outside of this, but I think, you know, even sort of just saying, oh, that person's a TERF, that person's a sexist bigot, that's a misogynist, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I think those things, it's important to speak out and name things what they are and like call it as it is, but sometimes it's also like, that isn't always a useful way to, if you're talking to a person one-to-one, if you look at them and you go, you're a racist, that's probably going to just get their guard up,
that's what I was going to go. So I think, like, again, it's the difference between, like, let's call it academic language versus human language, because I think when you're talking to a person one-on-one, just calling them a racist is almost using academic terms, and I do not think it resonates on a spiritual level for a lot of people. That isn't an okay thing to be. I think you need to use words that most people would understand to be like, effectively, you're mean. You're being cruel to people who were not cruel to you. You're abusing people who have not abused you. You're taking advantage of people. Like, those are words in which people go, I can't believe they're saying that about me. Because, you know, people are quite proud. They don't want their integrity to be challenged, rather than just going like, oh, you're a racist. Because they just see it as a time in which brushes paint over them, and they're just brushed under everybody else, and they're just going, oh, you don't see me. And like, I genuinely think any times like this, like even the right, the left, the moment you go, those are on the right. Like, we know people who technically would be on the right, but also, like, it's a fun of living in Yarmouth, but also, we've talked to many of them, and I think they're genuinely lovely people who have their own gripes with this existence and are trying to find their way to deal with those things. And I think that's entirely fair, as with any other human, no matter what side you're on. And I think we all need to actually do better to come together and go, you know, regardless of what side we were on, we have gripes that we need to deal with, all after the same thing, just maybe in slightly different ways. And if we can have the conversations to be able to hash out what it is we really mean in human terms without all the academic terms to, gloss over a very quick phrase like everybody gets it. We have to bring things down to a level in which everybody can understand and just go, let's just have a conversation. Like I actually said to you earlier, I think question time in most cities would be good, where you can maybe we'll do it eventually. I haven't yet figured it out, but I would love to have a question time where people just came and brought up whatever gripes they need. And we are not experts by any means in anything.
Like have a discussion about
it. But all we want to do is facilitate a discussion to kind of go, whatever it is that you've got a gripe on, can we all bring, regardless of what side we sit on, our perspectives on this, and maybe we can all learn something together that actually means that we've connected with people in a rather than just online, because the online is easy. We like the podcast, it gets it out to a lot of people very easily, but also it's not the same as having three people sit on the other end of this table and us just have a real conversation with people, because no matter how that conversation goes, by the end of it, I'm always there I'm really glad we had that. I'm really glad that I got to connect with people.
The moment that you start by sort of labeling somebody and saying, right, well, that person is a right-winger, they're a conservative, that's a Tory, that's a reform voter, that's a misogynist.
You just written them off.
You kind of, in your head you've gone, we're different and I need to get them onto my side of things. But it's actually beneath all of that, beneath all those labels, there is a real human person who's got
There's a lot of
real human needs, and they're actually just trying to, maybe in a misguided way sometimes, perhaps,
maybe
try to find ways to express that and find their people. And it's
but the important
where
part
you
is
find your
trying.
people. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's it's really easy to just forget that people are trying. Yes, it might not be in the exact same way that you're finding your way, but they're trying. And at the end of the day, it's almost like everyone's forgotten there's a middle ground. Remember, there's been wars in which both sides have held up a white flag and had a what's the word, a peace day, effectively, where they both sides have connected as soldiers, spent time together before I can't remember. There is a specific.
You're thinking about the Christmas of 1914. You're thinking about.
I can remember when, but for me, that's a really powerful thing, because I'm there
no
matter.
Football together.
They did, and I've seen videos, photos of it, and it's a beautiful moment, because you're actually these, as much as these human soldiers have this mandate to protect their country, they are at the end of the day still humans who connected with people who are from a completely different country, may not have spoken the same language.
No, they didn't speak the same language,
and yet have managed to connect. I always think about we have two cats. We most of the time know what our cats are thinking in some way, shape, or form. We do not speak the same language, and I think even amongst humans, there are a lot of humans that do not speak the same language, even in the same language. And yet we do. It's almost like we don't put the effort in to connect more, because it's easier to blame it on this wild theory than it is to spend the time being let's connect over something really complicated and really tough and with a lot of emotion usually pent up behind it. And for people to just go actually, this has really affected my life because of this thing, and I lost this person. And for other people to just go, yeah, I hear you. I don't know if I can have a conversation, if I can give my opinion on this, because you're going through something with that. Honestly, with all the COVID conversations and vaccines and stuff, they're complicated, but I get it, because people have lost people.
And a lot of people have a lot of reasons for what they think.
Yeah.
And they might have opinions that I completely disagree with, and I think actually that isn't the right way to look at this. But sometimes things have happened to them, people who have viewpoints about a certain group of society, whether that's women or men, or whether that's about all
Black people, Asian people, whichever category you use.
Sometimes that person, when you get down to it, you have a chat with them, and you'll be like, right, so why is it that you've been saying these things? And they'll talk about, some horrifying experience that they've had, or a few experiences that they had, and you go, right, so yes, on a big level, it's completely wrong to stereotype an entire group like that. You can't say that all blank people are, because I met one who did this to me. But is it better to maybe begin by addressing, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and then to try and find a way to reintroduce, I think if we punish people for saying the wrong thing that isn't acceptable, because when it's coming out of their own hurt and they're trying to share their story, but it's unacceptable to say that. This is the thing, because
but this is an interesting extension on like the Greg Wallace thing we were talking about in the last podcast, because you're right, he's going through the same thing where he's like, I don't know what to say because I don't want to get punished for saying the wrong thing. And I actually, that is where the question time thing came from, because I'm like, Greg Wallace should have the space to be able to bring up whatever thoughts he has, and for people to somewhere. Yeah. But like, you're right, not everywhere is that place. So workplace is not the place, but we do need a place.
Twitter is not the place.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. I see so many women on Twitter who are saying lots of quite turfy things. They're very scared about trans women. They have all these things that they're saying, and a lot of the time, when you kind of get into it, they've had some experience with a man.
Sure.
That has made them now really fearful of men being in women's spaces. And it's kind of like, I see a lot of people posting stuff online, and it's like, I totally think there needs to be a space in their private lives where they can work through some of this and understand that trans women are not men. Trans women are not predators. This isn't what they think it is. And I think it's totally fair for them to have that space to deal with their trauma. It's just the fact that they're putting it online and contributing to the narrative.
Well, people are putting that online, I think, because they don't have anywhere else.
Yeah,
like, I've seen people use Facebook and bring up some wild scenarios in their lives, and I'm there like, hey, you know that social media is not for this, and they're like, but Facebook says what's on your mind, so I'm just saying what's on my mind, and I'm there like, actually, I need to take a moment to respect the fact that they clearly do not have anywhere else to go.
Yeah,
and Facebook is the place of choice because we have no community.
But that's really the issue. It's like, you know, if someone's going through something, processing them, they shouldn't be putting it online so that anyone could be influenced. And, you know, I think anyone adding to the conversation that further demeans and reduces the rights of trans people, that's a bad thing to do. And there's no justification for being involved in that conversation and, you know, trying to add to fuel to that fire. But I think people who are finding themselves a bit like, I don't know, I feel a bit uncomfortable with this, They need a space where they can talk about it with somebody and not be immediately shut down, and have somebody who's able to talk them through it to help them realise where they're wrong on a one-to-one level.
Or even what they're really going through.
Like,
you know, I had this at work where, like, the same colleague was really struggling, and a lot of the conversation was about work, and eventually I was like, how's home life? And then you discover some real stuff going on, and you're like, I don't think that work is the biggest issue here. I think there's some other stuff happening that work is playing factors into. It's
often that way, isn't it?
And you end up, like, you conflict the two, right? Because our lives are interwoven with other things. And it's very easy to take everything that's going on out on one specific thing, rather than go, you know what, actually, there's a lot of complicated stuff here that I don't have anyone to talk to.
I mean, I think I've had it quite a lot where sometimes I'll be like, right, so something stressful is happening at work.
Sure.
And I'm really stressed about it. And I'm like, I wouldn't be this stressed if everything was fine elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually probably mostly, like, you know, last year I had a really stressful time at work. And there were loads of things happening. Like, there were people leaving that I really, you know, relied on, and there was a big workload increase, and there were deadlines to meet. But normally that would be fine. But then because we were moving house and everything as well, and there was uncertainty about the whole house move and all of that, and I kept getting these scary emails about conveyancing, and I was like, you know what I mean?
I remember that.
Just because it was so,
you're stressed in home life, and then
I was so stretched thin that this extra work stuff just felt like that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'm there crying about work, but I mean, it's not really about work. No. It's just,
but
I'm crying.
Work is where it's coming out, because that's when you're feeling the stretch extra.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I can't have the capacity for the extra stretch right now.
Exactly.
And I think often it's difficult as humans, I think, to pinpoint exactly where everything's coming from. That's why we go to therapy sometimes, right?
It is, yeah. Sometimes you need, I think sometimes you need an impartial person to come in and just go like, oh, what's going on? You tell them what's going on, and for them to go, is it what you think it is?
Yeah, or it's like, you know, something like, I've had it before where someone who I've not known well has died, or somebody who's kind of close to someone that I know has died, and it's hit me really hard, and I'll be like, that shouldn't hit me quite so hard. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I mean, it's probably because I'm already kind of on the edge, and then I've had a loss that isn't actually that close to me. Or it's like, you know, friends have gone through a breakup or something, and I'm like, that hurts me, even though it shouldn't hurt me. It's just,
And even basic things of like friends who, you know, I've seen a lot of people that when going through stuff have suddenly realized who's actually there for them. And that's a whole thing to grasp with, realizing that not as many people are always there for you as you thought they were. Like I actually had this conversation at work today where I was like, not gonna lie, I have like 3-4 people that are my like go-tos.
Am I in the top 4?
No, you didn't make it. Somehow I don't know how. You might be my wife, but somehow you didn't make the cut. It's not like I talk to you about everything in life. Of course you made it. But like, yeah, I only have like 3-4 people that like I go to regardless of what's going on, and then there are staggering levels of other people where you're like in the right scenario but like it's really easy when you feel like you don't have a lot already to kind of go, well, the 10 people I have, I thought I really loved with everything I have in me, to then realize that only 4 of them are there for you. It's a real loss. Like, you know, along with everything else, it's hard to take, but yes, you grow from it and yes, you learn. But in those moments, we actually just have to make space for the emotions you're feeling right now, to feel them at their full capacity, and to realize that you can't go around them. You can't loophole emotions. You're going to have to just feel them out, ride it out, and turn to the people who are actually there and allow them to be there for you. It's okay to be a burden on other people, because at the end of the day, you can't just be strong for everybody else and not allow other people to be there for you, because that is the whole point of connection. The whole point of friendship. It's an honor to be there for my friends in my life who have gone through stuff, because you're there like, I love you, I want you to be better, and I want you to feel like whilst you're going through this whirlwind of stuff, that you are not alone in it.
Yeah.
And it's almost a disservice to the people that you love to take that away from them and go, no, I need to be strong by myself. Because how else are they supposed to connect and bond with you further than to support you when you need them the absolute most?
I think that's so true. It's like, I think connecting with people and supporting them, it's never a burden. Like, obviously there are times in life where you might not have the capacity to help somebody as much as they might want you to, and you have to have those boundaries. But I think, it's sort of, I mean, people often think that they're a burden when they're, like, it seems to be a running theme that I encounter where people think that they're a burden, and I'll be like, no, like, why would you think this conversation was a burden on me? You know, like, you're allowed to ask me for advice and to tell me about what's happening and to cry with me. Like, of course you are. You know, there are certain things that might cross the line. Like, if you're messaging me 20 times a day, and there's calling me in the night, and you know, like, trying to put your life in my hands, that's a different situation. But most of the time, it's just, I'm going through something, I want to talk about it. Can I call you? And it's like, of course you can call me.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
You know, and like, I think because it's so important to have that, you know, I would be very upset if I felt like there was nobody in my life I could call in that situation.
That'd be tough.
Yeah,
really,
it's tough.
Tough.
So I think it's just, but that's human connection. Like, these are the moments that, you know, are so important. Like, we have communities now. We, you know, exist in a bigger, broader world. We still, I think there's that thing, isn't there, about how human societies work in groups of up to 30.
Okay.
Naturally. So Homo sapiens, as we all are, we, back in the ancient times, we would only really be in the community of like 30 people max.
Sure.
So, you know, that would be like,
so this is why villages worked quite well.
Our tribe. Yeah. And
I guess
beyond,
villages is quite big.
Beyond 30, you kind of split up a bit.
Yeah.
And then, like, village life is sort of a bit like that. But I think even now, apparently, they've done some stats on it, and it seems like people can still kind of sustain up to 30 connections in any meaningful way. So those are people that are your acquaintances and your friends and your family and your close friends, people you work with around you, that you can have an actual meaningful connection with.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we really struggle. And I think 30 is quite high, you know.
I think it is quite. I would actually say you struggle if you feel like, well, so imagine if you felt like you had 30, you could have 30, but you have 10.
Mm-hmm.
You suddenly feel like, why is it that so few people are there for me? Or even few people that you can go to connect. Like, I remember having this with my mum, when my mum is in part of a huge church and, like, you know, has given so much of her time and dedication to it. And I think one day I was like, not gonna lie, Mum, how many people can you really turn to? But, like, if you're going through some stuff, you could go to. And we even saw this, like, when she had cancer, because the people she went to, either did not give her good advice, or didn't know how to be there for her.
Or she just couldn't go to
Or she couldn't go to other people, and she was like, no, I have to hide that I have this. And I was like, so not only have you got to struggle with the fact that you're going through this like very life-altering thing, but also you've got to do it alone because the people around you don't know how to hack it.
So that's the thing. It's like 30 connections maybe, but in terms of actual friends, it's usually much lower than that.
Yeah, without doubt.
So it's like, even if you're somebody where you're like, I don't really have many friends, if you have, you know, even like Dan said, 3 or 4 people that you could go to with anything, that's quite a privilege. I think 3 or 4 people you go to with anything is
I would agree.
Impressive, you know?
I think I've got a good way to wrap this up, ironically.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm thinking we're trying to stop what seems like insanity spreading. Okay. I think if you've got your goal in life is to find 3 to 4 connections that you can really depend on.
Yeah, it's not about being popular.
No. It's not about the quantity of your relationships. It's about the quality. And you need to have people in which you can truly rely on and trust. And then I think you spend 10 of those connections, maybe, being a light in someone else's world. Mm-hmm. Because out of you being a light in someone else's world, I think you'll gain more connections.
Yeah, even in a small way.
Sometimes. Even in a small way. I think we've got to find ways to have enough space in our life to output to other people and be there for other people, as well as foster and cultivate the relationships in our life that when we need something, that we do have people we can go to and we can reliably know that they will be there for us. And it's so much less of a just going, right, I'm just going to give to everybody else, and going, actually, I need to check in with people to be like, will you be there for me? Like, and that requires vulnerable conversations. We always say, like, sometimes you don't have to admit how much you care about someone to someone that you like who's just a friend. Where you're there like, actually, I really appreciate having you in my life far more than I ever expected, far more than I really recently knew, but actually I felt like you should know. And I think even just telling someone that, they'll go, wow, this person really cares about me. Mm-hmm. And it even encourages them to care about you more. Because, of course, if you're putting in so much into them, why wouldn't they want to put it back? Connection is the key to stopping this insanity.
Absolutely.
And hopefully fostering a bit of a better world. This was a fun one.
That's good.
I really enjoyed this one. I didn't expect it to go where it did, but I think this was
pretty good.
A really insightful chat. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you.
I always love having your thoughts in these.
Aww.
You're a very smart woman.
No, you're very smart.
I don't know. I use words and you tend to translate them for
words.
me. Anyway,
it's good words.
Thank you for sticking this one out. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please let us know your thoughts. Also, our candle is a garden party candle. Please go onto our website, use the code podcast for 10% off. It's a wonderful candle. We've got so many more others. We've actually just revamped the website as well as released new hand washes. It's really cool. That's our sponsor bit. We're doing it right to the end. So if you hear it, you're an absolute G. Thank you for sticking it out. But we're going to go do other stuff. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you around a little bit later. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.